what I would recommend is, obviously you want to be good, have good grades and network and everything. But what's really going to get you like those job offers, which I wish someone had told me instead of having that crippling situation of only getting one interview, is starting to understand and look at what you're interested in. So you can always go to the Office of Career Services. You can go to your student employment office. And I used to work at these offices. So that's why I know there's a lot of free resources out there for students or recent graduates, and really understand like what you want to do. And if you don't, just do internships. So how can you start your job search? Well, work with a resume writer. For the most part, universities tend to have resume writers free of charge or for a very minimal amount. If you are, maybe you work with them. Maybe I've had clients who tell me, I try to go with the resume writer in my university and it didn't get me any results. Well, that's when I recommend resume writing or working with a resume writer. So I actually write resumes as well for my clients. And on average, for every 10 jobs they apply to, they get anywhere between 2 to 4 interviews. It used to be higher before COVID. Now it's a lot more competitive now, but it doesn't mean you can't get interviews. So that's what I would focus on. So getting a resume writer. And you're like, well, how do I know I need a resume writer? If you're applying for more than 10 jobs and not getting at least 2 to 4 interviews, you need a resume writer. And so once you have figured it out, okay, now you're getting interviews, you want to start preparing for those interviews. And I would actually recommend to do it before you even start interviewing. Most people start interviewing or preparing for their interviews 2 to 3, maybe a week before their interviews is coming up. Usually there's a short turnaround time. They'll send you an email saying, "Hey, Zeke, we're interested in interviewing you. Let us know your availability for the next week or two." And, even if you extend it out 2 weeks out, that's only 2 weeks of preparation. When I work with my clients, I work with them anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks before they start interviewing. So most candidates can't compete with my clients. If you're up against one of my clients, I'm sorry, but you cannot compete with them because they've already been working on this for at least 4 to 6 weeks. Most people tend to have a few days or at most like maybe 2 weeks. So it's prepare for these interviews. What questions are they going to ask you? We already know they're going to ask you the common interview questions. Tell me about yourself. What is your greatest weakness? What is your greatest strength? How would others describe you? Like these questions are always tend to get like 80, 90% of the time, they always get asked. So start preparing. How do you want to brand yourself? What do you want to highlight? What are some of those achievements? And if you're like, I don't even know where to start, well, then that means you need to start networking before you even start interviewing or applying to jobs. If you're interested in a marketing coordinator role, for example, or like a entry data analyst, well, reach out to a current data analyst and, whether it's on the campus directory, like past, alumni, you can look up alumni and see who graduated from your university and just say, "Hey, I'm an alumni. I'm about to graduate and I'm interested in a data analyst role. I see you've been working now for at least a year or two and you also graduated. Can you tell me a little bit more about the interview process? What is the biggest challenge? What are some skill sets that you're surprised you have to know for a data analyst role besides the obvious?" And you want to gather this intel so that way you can leverage it when you're interviewing. And you could even reach out to like managers that are managing data scientists and ask them, what is the hardest skill to hire for when looking for a data analyst? Can you tell me a little bit more about, what makes a candidate stand out? Like during the interview, what is your most memorable candidate that you've interviewed? Ask these questions. And I like to say that it's almost asking for the answers to the test. Hey, I know what the test is about, what questions they are. Give me the answers. And then I'm going to craft and write and workshop an answer that I know is going to sound great during the interview process. So now that you know what is the hardest skill to hire for, that's what I would lead with. Oh, tell me about yourself. Oh, I am a recent graduate and my background has been in data analysis. So I've been managing big data, but my greatest skill set and what I'm, most proud of is I'm great at business acumen. I can speak to both technical and non-technical teams, and I can write stories based on data, depending how we slice and dice it. In case, let's just say that they said the hardest part about hiring a data analyst is someone that can be great at storytelling. So that's what you want to lead with because we already know that's going to make you stand out from the competition. And we gather that information through networking. So that's what I would recommend for like recent graduates. If you already graduated like a year or two,